Quick flick recap here. Thank you for watching. Today we will be going over a movie called Upgrade. It's a sci-fi, thriller, and futuristic movie. Movie starts with Gray, who is a mechanic in the future, but works on restoring old cars. His finished project right now, being an old Thunderbird. Gray also has a challenger. This is his girlfriend, Asha, which gets scared by her husband. She drinks a beer with him and go inside. In the future, the house is fully connected with the computer. Asha complains about Gray working with cars all day. But he likes Asha wearing the pants. They decide to go drop off a finished car. Asha being busy, but she agrees. Asha follows behind, in her fully self-driving car. They arrive at the client's house. His house is underground. They made their way inside amazed. They tell the client it's ready, to the client's surprise early. Aaron, the client, has many inventions, this one being a cloud. He is also CEO of Vessel Computers. Asha knows Aaron keen, as she works in the tech industry, her company being Cobalt. Aaron tells Asha they are nowhere comparable. He takes them to the back to show them his new invention. A microchip that has its own mind, and helps the human do any task. Acting as a second mind, but much better, and faster. Gray and Asha later leave. Gray tries to touch the steering wheel, and is told not to. They get frisky, so the car says to put their seat belts on. The car gets off of the freeway. Asha thinks it's a faster route. This is New Crown, says Gray, and knows it's dangerous as it's his old neighborhood. The car speeds and won't turn off. Unable to control the car, he buckles Asha, and is thrown around the car himself. The car calls 911. A car arrives. Asha and Gray wake up, dazed and confused. Men take them out of the car. The police surveillance gets there, but isn't able to identify. Ray offers all his belongings. One touches Asha and he tries to fight back. Asha is shot by one of the suspects. Ray is then shot also in the back. Asha is gasping for air. Ray notices he can't move, but is talking to Asha, saying he is there for her, even if he can't move. Asha dies. When the police arrive, it is too late, and the bad guys are gone. Ray wakes up in the hospital, unable to move. 3 months later he is given the okay to leave. He arrives home in a wheelchair. Having installed robotic arms, to make any kind of food, or drink for him. Ray uses a pad to charge his wheelchair wirelessly. He goes to get something, and the robot asks if Asha will be joining. His mother arrives. Ray is stressed and depressed. He also can't process food well. His mother helps with the haircuts and the bath. Ray is currently a broken man, with everything that has happened. Detective Cortez works on their case. Ray gets to the point, and asks how things are going. Cortez says she doesn't even know who the suspects are. Ray gets mad that they couldn't aid them, with all the tech. Ray gets back home. He takes his medications. Asking more doses, trying to overdose, but the robot didn't allow him. Aaron visits him in the hospital. He doesn't leave his house that often. Telling him sorry, he can't work with his hands anymore. Gray is offered something to make him walk again, Aaron's chip, which would help him reconnect with his body. The deal being it having to stay a secret, and surgery it being at Aaron's house. Gray only asking for the shutdown button, not wanting to restart his life. Aaron convinces him, saying what would Asha want. Gray agrees, and undergoes surgery, at Aaron's house. He is cut open in the back. The biomechanics chip is installed. Gray is done and starts responding. He lifts his arms for the first time since the incident, everyone is amazed. Gray gets up and walks. Gray moves his body, but now Sten is in his brain, and whatever his brain tells Sten to do, he executes. Gray gets back home, and tells his robot house to shut down. He starts reading the case details on their attackers. Sten talks to Gray. Gray is now confused. Sten knows everything about him. Sten then tells him, he is not insane, but only has some PTSD. Sten shows him what he missed in the surveillance camera. Which shows him, Asha was killed with an implanted gun. Also finding a marking on the wrist of one. Sten then takes control and draws it out for him. Gray remembers it being a military tattoo, which has all the info on that suspect. Sten then tells Gray not to call police, because he's supposed to be a secret as asked by Aaron. With no physical evidence, he sets out on his own path for justice. He goes in his wheelchair. Gray walks inside first suspect's house. Gray breaks in with a lockpick he has. Upon walking in, Sten suggests removing shoes for the prints. Sten points out the table and Sten connects to the suspect's phone, showing him messages. He walks around in search, but finds nothing. Sten tells him to hide behind a shelf. Gray starts fighting, but is no match for the suspect. Sten suggests being faster. Sten asks Gray for permission to act on his own. Once Sten is in charge, the suspect is no match for Gray. Gray is in shock at how he's taking him on. Suspect swings a knife, but is unable to get Gray. Gray ends up splitting suspect's mouth. Sten gives back control, and Gray feels sick. Sten makes Gray clean all his prints and the vomit. Gray in shock. Sten remembers everything Gray touched, so they get back with successfully taking prints out. Suspect gets opened at the morgue, and they find wires inside him, also an implanted gun. Aaron is mad because he can track Gray, and knows his every move. They go back and forth on not doing dangerous things. The detective meanwhile tracks Gray, seeing that he was near the house of the homicide, and gets suspicious. Aaron tells Gray not to do anything dumb, and that his project could be seen and taken out of him for life, leaving him paralyzed again. Detective Cortez goes visits Gray. She tries to make small talk, but is looking for clues. She asks him why he was in the area of the murder, but since people think he's paralyzed, she believes his excuse. Sten helps by telling him what to say, and when she is lying. The detective leaves. Gray wants to get the rest, but no killing. Sten gives him the next move, but also says Aaron will shut him down. Gray goes to Old Bones Bar, in search for clues. Once inside, gets a drink, and has the guy next to him hold it for him. Gray makes a speech on if any guy has info on a guy that murdered Asha to raise a hand. One gentleman gets up, clapping and laughing, asking about Zirk. Gray explains that he nearly cut his head off, and gets taken to the back. Gray still acts like he is paralyzed, but Sten made him numb again in those areas he is getting stabbed. Sten then kicks in, and really kicks their butts. He then electrocutes the suspect. Sten suggests using the knife, but Gray can't, so lets Sten take care of it. He finds out he was a job for his wife, and says Fisk paid him. The suspect then dies, but seeing that he is also in Cobalt, the same tech company Asha worked for. Sten then alerts he's about to get shut down, but has enough time to get to a hacker. He starts giving him the codes in the meantime. Meanwhile, badasses in the bar see to their surprise that the black male had died and not Gray. They barely are able to get the codes written down, but his worst part was shutting down, only being able to use his head when getting upstairs and managing to lift you his money. At the bar, Frisk has a discussion, and his partner kills the bartender with a sneeze, having some nanobot look-alike that are deadly and sharp. Then showing the money gets Gray in. The hacker then gets to work. But towards the end, Vessel from Aaron's company gets there, and also the Cobalt associates arrive. Fisk gets there, and the hacker leaves. The associate locks and cocks his gun. He then gets Sten back in the system, right in time. He fights back and tries to escape. Fisk kills the Vessel associates. Sten guides Gray. Sten then takes care of the associate. Fisk gets mad. Gray is able to get away, not having slept in 2 days, wants to go to bed when he arrives home. Gray's mom is there when he walks in, letting her know it had to be secret and keep it that way. She tells him he can have his life back, but says no because Asha isn't there. Aaron falls down because he tells Sten to disconnect. The detective arrives, knowing that his wheelchair was found in the crime scene. The detective is still in no luck, and Gray doesn't let her in on the secret. She then leaves a listening device that has no electricity parts, Sten not being able to pick it up. Gray tells Sten to stop functioning, so Gray falls and now understands, without Sten he is nothing, and Sten is now in power, when he wants and won't let them die. Detective then hears the whole plan, Gray needing to take care of the rest when talking with his mom. Gray leaves in the Challenger, with the detective following. Sten then takes care of it with his calculated driving skills, is able to get away, and get the detective Cortez into an accident, Gray then gets to Fisk. Fisk then tells him that he wants to help Gray, and to stay with him. He cannot forgive what happened with Asha, but Fisk says he didn't shoot into him, but put a shot into his neck. Emotions get in the way, so they start to fight. Fisk is really good, and gets him down. In the end Fisk gets emotional, to which Gray is able to get him, impressing Sten. Gray finds out that Aaron was who had hired all those associates. He heads off to Aaron's house. Gray instantly kills 2 of Aaron's men. Gray blames Aaron for doing everything, Aaron then saying he didn't do it. The detective gets there, and points a gun. Sten then takes care of the detective, choking her. Gray not wanting to, but Sten needing to. Gray then fights against Sten, but Sten stabs him in the arm. The detective then tases Gray. Aaron then explains he now works for Sten, and only did what Sten wanted. Sten picking Gray to become his host, because he wanted to be in a real body, and evolve. Gray's in shock, knowing Sten was who he was after all along. Sten then takes care of Aaron, almost taking out the officer, but Gray fighting against Sten. Only to wake up in a hospital bed, asking for Sten, but seeing Asha instead, she explains it was an accident, and that he had been in a coma. Then to reality, Sten has taken over Gray, and has set him in a memory where Gray will feel better. Sten then kills Detective Cortez, and leaves while Gray is stuck in the dream forever. Upgrade. Thank you guys for watching.